Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Ha ha ha! How is everyone doing? I appreciate everyone showing up to spend their time with me this evening, and everybody who watches the broadcast afterwards. We got a lot to talk about. Once again, Donald Trump is in Camp David with a cabinet meeting, having a conference with bigwigs. And I believe that this is the second time this year he's gone to Camp David. We're going to talk about that. What is the meaning of going to Camp David? But more importantly, what are they talking about now? And Trump is pushing for Todd Blanche. Is he the real special prosecutor? Europe is rupturing. They said things are under control in Spain, but no, it is far from under control. So what do when I come in? I play videos so people have time to come in, get a cup of coffee, a nice cold brouhaha, or an adult beverage of their choice. And what will we do? Oh, I must say this video was right after the assassination attempt on Donald J. Trump. I have to put things in perspective, or I could get in trouble with UTizzle. Okay, so anyway, we'll be like butter and get on a roll.
There was a reporter. I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. There was a reporter in the room who was under a table, and when the shots went off and everybody's hiding, she said, that was a journalist in the room who was hoping that when she stood up, the President of the United States would be dead. So I'm coming to a public venue where I know it might be hostile to expose myself to an honest dialogue, an open dialogue. And if you ask me a question and I don't have an answer, I will get you something in writing, or we can talk on the phone. But when you have members of the press openly enticing, hoping, talking about killing the chief executive officer of this country, again, Muslim, Jew, Hindu, I don't care. That's a problem.
Dust on my Bible, flags on the line. You laughed at our warnings, called truth a crime. You sold us your secrets, wrapped up like hope. Signed all our futures with a poison note. You sat in your mansions, we prayed in the rain. You cast every favor on a ledger of pain. You thought you were covered, names on a list, private plain pages you swore don't exist. Tick-tock, time's up, game over, you're done. Thought you hid in the shadows, but we watched every run. You sold out your own people, every promise a lie. Now the truth hits different with the world looking right in your eyes. Tick-tock, time's up, game over, you lose. Treason don't pay well when the light cuts through. God on our side and he's right on time. When the judge walks in, every bell gon' chime. Game over. You thought she was certain, thought he was too. Shook hands in the back room, said they'll never break through. You mocked every farmer, every steel-toed boo. Called him crazy and bitter while you buried the proof. Now screens start flashing, whole names, young kids, whole world scrolling through the things y'all did. Digital soldiers from the cornfields to Rome say leave our children alone or we're taking you home. Let's go! Tick-tock, time's up, game over, you're done. Thought you hid in the shadows, but we watched every run. You sold out your own people, every promise a lie. Now the truth hits different with the world looking right in your eyes. Tick-tock, time's up, game over, you lose. Treason don't pay well when the light cuts through. God on our side and he's right on time. When the judge walks in, every bell gon' chime. Game over.
Storm zone.
Yes. They have unsuccessfully tried to take down the wrong person.
He's absolutely going to come back with full vengeance the next time around.
Now think about what 4 years of a retribution presidency might look like. Our Constitution really does give the president tremendous power to destroy. This will be something we could never have imagined.
Now the gloves are off.
Some of Trump's close political allies told him they are working on figuring out the identities of the FBI and DOJ staff and forming lists.
I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA and AG in America for their illegal, racist enforcement of the law. The deep state is destroying our nation, but the tables must turn and we will quickly destroy the deep state. We know where the bodies are buried. There are a lot of people out there that have done some very, very evil things, very bad things, I would say treasonous things against our country. People that have done such harm to our country. I've been looking at them for a long time.
He could order the investigation and prosecution of individuals who he perceives as enemies.
You gotta get tough and smart, and you have to fight fire with fire. You can't allow this to go on. And I will be the one to clean it up. I am your retribution. We will take care of it. We will take care of it.
Hi, folks. Glad to see you all here. So, yeah, let's see who's coming in. I got to get my thumbnail up on the screen. There we go. A real special prosecutor. Remember, Donald Trump said that numerous times that he would get a real special prosecutor. And I don't know why there we go. My Joe Biden video won't come down. But anyway, folks, let's hope this is a smooth stream. I don't have troubles like I've been experiencing. And we'll see Elva's here. Todd's here. Nice to see you. Sissy, Robin, Rain, Frank is here. Scott is here. Miss Mindersu. She did a Moab and a half. You said half a Moab. Miss Mindersu, I got you. You did a Moab and a half, right? Darla's here. Nice to see you. Let's see who else is here. Wanda. Oh, where's my chance? There we go. Wanda's here. Where was Wanda? There she is. I don't want to. These chats jump around on me sometimes and lose my place. And I don't want to miss anybody. And if I do, you know I don't mean to. And all my lurkers out there. Flannel Cheese, how you doing? Nice to see you. Let's see. Yeah, I saw in the comments, when am I going to start coming up earlier? Believe me, I want to. It's hard. Hi, Flannel Cheese. It's hard. I want to check on the price of oil, and anybody can do that. Hello, Rebecca. Because it's going to be part of our discussion. Wayne, how you doing? Trump called out the bunch of stiffs he's got to deal with. That's what he called them. Brett, how you doing? Benjamin, nice to see you. Randy, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, the bunch of stiffs, you know, they don't have any, you know, they ran out of the droning on about the school that allegedly got bombed months ago. Egg prices, they can't complain about that. They can't complain about this and that. So I'm wondering what oil's doing right now. So I didn't get a chance to look it up because that's the kind of stuff that gets me up late. You know, I'll say, wait a minute, I forgot to do this. Wait a minute, I want to check on that. Before you know it. And I do want to reiterate, Yeah, 83, not that bad. Not that bad. Thank you, Todd. Yeah, people, let me tell you something. You go up against Trump and he will burn your rear end. And, these people that are thinking about speculating on oil and driving up the price, Trump is going to remember that, okay? And the time comes, he'll wait till they're so tied up. It's got to go up. They play games. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. And they won't play games with Trump. They're going to get their rear ends burned. So they're trying to keep it up. But remember what it was under Joe Biden, okay? Remember what it was under Joe Biden. For the longest time, and only people that work for a living complained, because the media certainly didn't. The power to ignore. They didn't complain about eggs under Biden. They didn't complain about nothing. Everything was through the roof. So anyway, Hank says, he did the meme. He did the meme at Camp David. I'll play that for you. What do I mean? When we get to it, I'll get to it. And Ouchie is still under fire. I got some videos from him. And they claim that they had this invasion of migrants under control. But just as many, they say right now as we speak, are pouring in. After, I'll show you, they put out reports. Spain turns to experienced border czar Kamala Harris for help with migrant invasion. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. You better have some Grey Goose ready and some sleeping pills and uppers and downers. But anyway, keep her happy. Whoa, I got 2 videos of no, that's something different. Wait a minute. All right. Anyway, let's see. Hi, Pappy Two Bears. How you doing? Yeah, we've been getting played and exploited since the 70s. Since the 70s. And I tell you, let's see if I can find it. I had something in my studio a while back that they found another tranche of oil. Is this it? Yeah. Sometimes I don't agree with this channel, but I keep up with it, kind of like a lot of us keep up with 2C TV, right? This young lady, she works really hard her diction, but it's difficult sometimes for me to understand her. But she does do a good job with her English, but it's my hearing more than anything else. Forget Russia and Iran. New oil treasure found. Where did I tell you all about another tranche of oil being discovered? Let's see who was paying attention. About 2 weeks ago. This is a new one. Gulf, Russia, Iran. To be sidelined, $1 trillion. The one I talked about a couple of weeks ago was 30 trillion. Hi, Emma. How you doing? I'm just looking at the, collard greens, the bathtub. Oh, my gosh. Doc, how you doing? Yeah. Oh, God, remember that? Collard greens in the bathtub. I forgot about that. Oh, my God. And she'd go ahead and wash her feet. Get it all done at the same time. Collard greens and your toes. But anyway, does anybody remember? Elvis said turkey. No. Kim. Kim came out of lurking status. And the guest, Australia. And you are correct. You get a Cupid doll, an imaginary Cupid doll. And I didn't never get a chance to put it up. But here's a synopsis of the story. See, there's an oil tanker right there. Forget the Middle East. There's a massive new energy play unfolding in the Pacific. While world attention stays fixated on the Strait of Hormuz, Russia, and Iran, the tiny Southeast Asian of Timor-Leste is sitting on an estimated 75 billion energy treasure chest known as the Greater Sunrise Gas Field. Okay, gas, not oil. Holding over 5.1 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. The country is now officially calling on India and global powers to invest in LNG infrastructure, oil refining, and subsea pipelines. In this, the India Vector episode, Nikita Kapoor breaks down, could be Timor-Leste become ultimate energy hedge against Gulf volatility. Well, it would be helpful, but it can't touch what they found in Australia. But just like I was saying, Trump is sending out signals. You're not going to be as important as you used to be. Okay, on top of the beatings that you're receiving from us. So yes, you were correct. It was Australia was what I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, but now we have this Timor situation. So anyway, sounds like, what's that? I shouldn't use these white letters because it makes it hard to read the chats. Let me shrink it down, get it out of the way a little bit. There we go. I'll have to wait. Oh, okay. All right. Something about Kamala. Okay. But anyway. Let's see. Here's Todd Blanche. Dan Scavino put this up. Right there. Dan Scavino's name. Confirm Blanche. We're going to be seeing. Well, Trump has said he's going to keep him on in a temporary status, and he'll just wait out these hardheads that are holding up his nomination. And he put out a truth concerning the hardheads. And he said he's a very special man, and you won't get another one like him, all right? I'll play that clip in a minute. But right here we have about John Cornyn. Never had a problem with the so-called fund. More trouble John Cornyn's causing. Now, do you know how many billions of dollars unquestioned, especially during the Obama administration, went to people who were blocking traffic and got some pepper spray in their eyes, okay? And they sued. Or they had a problem with a company they said was discriminating, and they filed a lawsuit. And the game was, with private companies, well, we won't prosecute you if you put the money in with this group, okay, and we'll distribute it out to the so-called victims. Happened all the time. And with municipalities, like I said earlier with the pepper spray stuff, that's what I did the video, Riot Racket. They'd go out there and exaggerate a fall or act like when a cop touches them, they fly backwards like they've been pushed with great force. And they all, not all, but many of them get settlements. So now Trump is trying to set up something about the IRS abuses that he happened to experience personally, open and notorious criminal activity. They leaked his tax returns. But the abuses they did to many other citizens and groups, okay, starting way back with the Tea Party, and also the people that were victimized by the setup on that infamous day, a day that will live in infamy. J and then 6, right? Well, they're saying Trump is trying to self-deal, that he's only doing it for himself, like John Cornyn. He never had a problem with the so-called fund, which will not benefit me, but rather the great American patriots who were hunted down like dogs and whose lives were unfairly and illegally destroyed by the crooked Joe Biden administration. And it's not just the IRS and J and then 6, right? It's the people that were praying outside buildings. It's many varied and sundry abuses. Mothers that went to school boards complaining, things like that. So anyway, until after I endorsed and support his Republican primary opponent in Texas, who easily won the nomination for the United States Senate, perhaps there has never been a group of people treated so badly in our nation's history. They are suffering still, many ruined, and I felt they should be given compensation for what has been done to them. I gave up any payments for myself, which would have been substantial, including for the illegal and unprecedented raid on Mar-a-Lago, my home in Florida, even though many legal experts and others, including Cornyn, said it was a shocking and disgusting display of weaponization against me. Such an event has never happened before and hopefully will never happen again. I will always feel that these victims of government abuse should be paid back for what they were forced to endure. Their lives have been ruined. Millions of people agree with me, as was proven in my landslide presidential win, where this was a major subject of debate. And so did John Cornyn, until he lost his election due to an opponent that I endorsed. Todd Blanche, a good man, should be immediately approved as U.S. Attorney General. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Now, he's talking primarily about Cornyn. There's also Tom Tillis. But what hadn't been mentioned, I showed you the report on about 4 or 5 days ago. Well, it might not even be that long, maybe 3 days ago, where the Bar Association stepped in. What happened there? I'm sure we'll hear something about it. But I must return to the point that liberal agitators, so-called protesters, paid actors, have been paid out billions of dollars under the Biden administration and the Obama administration for hokey garbage, and nobody batted an eye. So anyway, let's see what this is. Donald J. Trump again. I'm pleased to announce, you got to rub it in their face. It's a must, okay? You haven't won in this arena until you take their face and shove it in the gravel and wipe his face back and forth, okay? Rub it in their face. I'm pleased to announce that the man who so foolishly led the Indiana State Senate, with almost every candidate losing their race, many of them in office for years, will not be seeking re-election as Senate president because he wouldn't have had a chance to be elected. Better yet would be if he would resign from office completely, but he will be met by us at the Indiana polls. Roderick Bray should be ashamed of himself for costing our country, mainly the Republican Party, 2 U.S. House seats. Don't ever let them forget, folks. And speaking of not forgetting, I'm going to bring up some stuff about Fauci, okay? there's so much happening. Big things are still yet to come out about him, and we can't let people forget. But anyway, along with him, an election loss. That's right. Throw the bums out. Throw the bums out. Isn't it amazing how politics works? I want to thank the great state of Indiana for your support, not only in my presidential election, which we won with the highest vote in the history of the state, but also for your support in getting rid of wayward senators led down the path of destruction by a fool named Roderick Bray. Indiana, I will never forget your loyalty, President Donald J. Trump. What do you mean, Frank? I can't get Fauci. Wait, you see what we're going to talk about. What you talking about, Willis? Ha ha ha. You know, I had on my title the other night, Fauci Fallout, right? Fauci Fallout. And put this on your meta page, okay? Take a screenshot of it, crop it down, and put it on your meta page. I'm just not ready to accept that everything I believed was a lie. And it ain't just about that M-A-S-K, right? Look at here. Who is that? Dr. Ouchie. Florida AG investigates Dr. Anthony Fauci. What they tried to do? What did they do with Donald J. Trump? They made sure they got state charges against him, so there couldn't be any pardons. And what they did to anybody that supported Trump, they made sure they had crooked DAs file state charges. Okay? And they were unable to be pardoned by Trump. Look what Tina Peters went through. Trump couldn't pardon her. Well, that sword cuts both ways. Okay? Newsmax. I didn't see anybody else putting it up. Fauci probe, Florida AG James Uthmeyer announced Wednesday that his office is opening an investigation into Dr. Anthony Fauci, hours after Fauci repeatedly invoked the Fifth Amendment during a contentious Senate hearing on the federal government's COVID-19 response. Yeah, we all want. I think he's going to get something worse in prison. Because now, how many of you have been with me for a long time and remember me posting a meme and it showed? I have to be careful how I say this. It showed a rat being experimented on. And it had a patch of hair on the rat. Remember that? How many of you remember that? And what he had done, what he'd authorized, was grafting hair from the tops of the head of, I'll use the false clinical term, fetus. That was a scientific term for a animal. All right. Doctors always called humans infants or babies. Animal kingdom, fetus, for any species. Just like an autopsy on a human, you know what that is, right? What do they call that when they see what happened to an animal that's passed away? Anything in the animal kingdom. They call it necropsy. Necropsy instead of autopsy. Necrosis means dead. Okay? Necrosis. So, anyway. So they were grafting scalps, human, on rats, living rats. And I put that meme up many times. And my channel was taken down many times, right? Look here. The Economic Times. I got to be careful what. See, now, channels like this can put words up like this, but I can't say them without taking a chance, right? 5-month Ted Bobby's liver and lung planted in the mice. Look at that ghoul sitting there. Part. Because we're focusing on COVID, okay? Focus. That's where, like I said, people don't care unless it's their ox getting gored. Everybody was impacted by the lockdowns. Everybody was impacted by the stay home, stay safe. On and on. So when you get to focus on him and people getting a bad taste in their mouth for him, and this stuff starts coming out about the scalps that I told you about, and this, and don't forget Penn State. How do you have 10-month-old so-called fetuses that are what they called viable? What does viable mean? That they were experimenting on and they arrested those professors? We haven't heard anything about it yet. What does viable mean? Viable means alive. How long is gestation? 9 months. You don't have 10-month-old fetuses. They're called bobbies, right? I got to watch what I say. B-A, okay? Bees. Cradle robbing from the womb and taking human beings and experimenting on them. Some have said as much as 12 months. 12 months. 10, 11, 12. 3-month-old. From the time of natural birth. So yeah, what do you think is going to happen to him? Hegseth, I'm going to talk about him. When you rip out DEI, when you rip out social engineering and social justice, you put in merit, you get historic enlistment inside our ranks. Obviously, an issue of national security, providing a cohesive unit people want to join. You don't want to be like Europe, where over 50% of the fighting age men say they wouldn't fight for their country. They're not fighting for it now. The mass migration continues as we speak. And the crimes I discussed have happened and are ongoing. Arson, robbery, burglaries, beatings. The R word with women. What do you think they're doing when they come over here? They ain't looking for a job. We'll get into that in a minute. Remember this guy? Remember this guy? Who remembers this guy? Where was he at? Fort what? Just a matter of time. Army major to be executed. There's a caveat to this. You know how people like to do their titles and headlines for clickbait, which, I'm not in that business. But to stay in business, a lot of YouTubers have got to do it. First, U.S. if it happened, if. The biggest word in the English language has only got 2 letters. If a frog had wings, he would not bump his rear end on the ground every time he jumped. First military X3 execution in 64 years. Boy, we got the chats are on top of it. Elva said hood. Todd said hood. Fauci said hood, and that is correct. Frank, that's a good guess, but it is Fort Hood. 13 people lost their lives to this fanatic. And they had plenty of warning. Guess what was his last words before he started pew-pewing everybody? And misspell it in the chats, please. Guess what his last words were? And do you know the people that were injured and the service members that lost their lives were denied benefits that they would have gotten if they were killed in a combat operation or time of war or terrorist attack? For 5 years, they had to fight, and it took an act of Congress to get them to be recognized and taken care of because he used his own personal pistole. His own personal pistole. Army Major Nadal Malik Hassan was sentenced to death for the 2009 Fort Hood attack. Now he's paralyzed. He's in a wheelchair. They delayed his case for a year, arguing over his stupid beard. I'd have held him down and dry shaved him and told him, you're going to be tried looking exactly the way you looked when you committed the crime. I don't care about your beard or what your convictions are, okay? That's what I'd have done. But anyway, they threw the judge off the case that was playing his stupid game for a year, arguing over his beard, and they finally got him convicted. 13 people lost their lives, and more than 30 others were wounded at a U.S. military base in Texas. A military psychiatrist. He was a psychiatrist, a doctor. Okay? Trusted to care for soldiers. Hassan displayed documented warning signs that raised concerns among supervisors long before the attack. He got promoted to a major. Even after he openly said at one meeting, staff meeting, that the Quran takes precedence over the Constitution. He should have been disciplined and demoted right there. After spending years on military death row, he remains at the disciplinary barracks at Fort Leavenworth. I put up a picture of Fort Leavenworth, and I said that's where some of these judges need to go, like Boasberg. While renewed calls for the first U.S. military execution in decades have brought this case back into national attention, the story examines the victims, the warnings that were missed, and the failures that allowed trusted Army officer to carry out one of the deadliest attacks on a U.S. military installation. So, if you want, they go over the victims' names, stuff like that. But it's all riding on what Pete Hegseth does. He claims he wants to go down as a martyr. And some people are saying, oh, no, make him spend life in prison so he can't be a martyr. They'll still call him a martyr. It doesn't matter. Take care of him now, and we'll see what Hegseth does. It's got to happen. We got to get people used to the idea of people meeting their ultimate fate. And since I'm talking about this one right here should have been already dealt with. Right here. Brian Koberger. I just putting it up because we're talking about it. Desensitization. That is where the left excels. They desensitize parents because their kids come home incrementally saying, well, it's okay for men to marry men. Well, I don't know about that. Well, that's what they teach me in school. My teacher has my teacher has a wife. She has a wife. My classmate's got 2 mommies. A couple of years go by. I think my gender's different. The people get numb. So, hey, it's time to desensitize people. Somebody's getting it, okay, this week that deserves it. Okay, sounds good to me. That's where we need to be. This character here, Brian Koberger, did it. And I don't care about all the people that listen to these screwballs coming up with theories and all this kind of crapola. He did it, and he needs to pay the price. So he wants to remove his guilty plea, and he says he's innocent. I'd do it. And I put the death penalty right back on the table. And like I said, the same timeline as Timothy McVeigh. You're out of here. And we need to do it. We need to take care of this Hassan, whatever his name is, and their ilk. Their ilk. We need to quit. I should have got a screenshot of death row and executions. Caesar, how you doing? No caps. Or just watch your caps. You're spamming my chat, I'll block you. Okay, welcome to the chat, but don't be spamming my chat. Everybody blocks spammers. I call it chat farting. Ha ha ha, don't chat fart, Caesar. Put a cork in it. Okay, I'm taking that one down. You're pushing me, kid. Settle down. So anyway, I got to get back in the rhythm. Anyway, so we're not only do we need to desensitize people to what the left says, oh, it's so awful to do the death penalty because so many people have been found to be innocent. That's a racket. I'll get into that another day. A lot of those things, they just wear out the justice system. They wear out the justice system. They don't really prove innocence. But death row and executions, they got people 40 years sitting on death row. And they had one guy scheduled and they couldn't find a vein. So he's back in jail. Who knows what they're going to do? How long they're going to... I bet you they'd have found a vein 40 years ago. Okay, or old Sparky. So we got to get people used to the idea. That's the only way it's going to be a deterrent. And not just desensitization, but we've got to have the spotlight on Fauci with these state charges. And you got a lot of famous people right here. I've not put him up. For lack of a better term, his yap. He I find him irritating, okay? Sometimes he gets a little too sounding a little too righteous, but he's serving a purpose, okay? And right now he's serving a purpose, And I will give credit where credit's due. And he's got a style of talking, that's fine. Stephen A. Smith. He's publicly apologizing for alienating people who would not take the vax. That is a big deal. That was one of the most divisive things that's happened in this country. And we need to see more of this. I'm going to play it. We need to see more people mocking Fauci, more people pointing out what he's done. And the big red pill will be the things I discussed earlier in the broadcast that are going to be uncomfortable truths. Uncomfortable truths. And now that Roe v. Wade has been moved to the states and people hear the things that I've discussed with human scalps, okay? 12-month-old fetuses, right? So here he is publicly apologizing for attacking people who didn't take the jab.
There were others who had the courage to say, bump that. And one of those people at the forefront was Kyrie Irving. I bring his name up because I had my issues. Because he's sensational. But with him, in terms of leadership, and I didn't look at it as being courageous. I looked at it as being selfish. And I watched Dr. Fauci on Capitol Hill yesterday. And the person I thought about most was Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving stood out in my mind because of the heat that he was taking. And how folks were piling on because that was just the latest transgression in their eyes that he was committing and subjecting the public to. He refused the vaccine. New York City's mandate made him ineligible for home games. And he linked his stance to people losing jobs over vaccine mandates. In my opinion, particularly hindsight-wise, it didn't make him stubborn or selfish. It made him brave for his willingness to stand up and say, nah, I'm not doing that. It's just a time for reflection and look at things differently.
Giving people the respect and honoring their opinions and their feelings and telling the world that there was courage involved. Courage. And yeah, good for you, Stephen A. Smith. And that was a very humble and noble thing for you to do. And we're going to see more of it. Bambi, how you doing? Nice to see you. Roland, nice to see you also. All right, Sherry's here. Sparky, nice to see you. Caesar, goodbye. Look at this. What are we seeing him twice? I'm not going to block him. We've seen him in chats twice, and twice he's been told don't. And everybody on YouTube has a channel. You spam the chats, you get taken time out or kicked out or something. Every creator, you don't spam the chats. And I was very nice about it. And we're talking about serious things that affect humanity. These experiments are going on right now, and even worse around the world. We've talked about reports that were verified of people being hunted, like in the movies. And it's been going on for decades. Hunting human beings and ending their lives in the woods like they were animals. Unborn. And this individual wants to behave this way like a child. You can come back if you want, Caesar, but get your head out of your rear end. Unsubscribe if you want. I don't give a damn. So anyway, humility, admitting. And now we'll get into some mockery. Oh, we're dealing with satanic forces. Anybody that hadn't got that in their head right now, the seminal moment we're living in. Anyway, here's Nicki Minaj talking about Dr. Fauci. Remember that video somebody put up? Dr. Fauci, you're so wonderful. Boy, don't they look like idiots now.
Dear Diary, well, the press is hot for me. They say I'm sexier than Tyra Banks. Julia Roberts gasped when she saw how handsome I was. Brad Pitt played me on SNL. Never mind that I set millions of children back years on their education. Never mind that the elderly are alone and afraid, dying by themselves. Yeah, the press is hot for me. They're really hot for me. I'm coining terms like Fauci ouchie. I've got bobbleheads. And if anyone asks questions, me and my gang ruins their lives. I'm writing an autobiography. I think I'm going to call it Fauci ouchie.
So that's going to continue. I think they'll revive the beagle torture, right? Because there's other experimental things going on besides those beagles. And people, especially liberals, for some reason, have more empathy for animals than they do human beings. But I think they're going to graduate to the animal experiments, and then we're going to see what I was talking about. And I suspect those professors I mentioned, they're probably still incarcerated somewhere. You don't do that to human beings and walk the streets. So, Trump to appeal judge's ruling. I have it somewhere in my studio where this judge made a formal statement in their ruling that essentially Donald Trump was self-dealing and self-profiting from the account he was trying to set up for their rights being violated by the government. Trump to appeal judge's ruling denouncing IRS suit as exercise in self-dealing. This is New York Times, so they're not going to put in the verbiage that the judge used. I got it somewhere in my studio. I'll come across it. I'll pop it up one day. Lawyers for President Trump said on Friday they would appeal recent order from a judge casting doubt on the legitimacy of a $1.8 billion settlement. So, we get Todd Blanche in there. We're going to see some judges getting straightened out, all right? And I feel outright removed. Anyway, here's Pete Hegseth. He did the meme. What's the meme? The beatings will continue till morale improves. But he said that about the flyovers.
Day 2024, when the American people said, I want to serve under this president. And that new name, the Department of War, has become the ethos, the warrior ethos of our department. Again, spirit. And I will know the flyovers will indeed continue until morale improves. But that's also spirit. Parades, 250, flyovers, the American people seeing and feeling their military in ways they have not in the past. That's spirit. And then finally, Mr. President, a generational investment. You rebuilt the military in your first term, and you've spent in your first year $1 trillion, and now we are committed.
Yeah, we've been pounding the daylights out of them, and we're going to be looking at their energy and desalinization plants. And, you know, that one reporter said, don't you think that's a war crime? Listen, Iran has bombed multiple nations, their desalination plants, their energy infrastructure, their bridges, okay? And I said it 1,000 times. Retaliatory actions are permitted, like-kind retaliation. They bomb your water plant, you can bomb their water plant, okay? And it's not a violation of the laws of war. If they violate the laws of war, you're able to retaliate like kind. And maybe somebody will set those reporters straight on it. They don't want to be set straight, okay? They don't want to be set straight. But anyway, so we got it in the bank. Hi, KNS Cleanup, how you doing? Gary, how you doing? Nice to see you. Ha ha, oh yeah, wouldn't that be great? Oh, there's good things coming, I'm telling you. This is what, you know, I saw somebody in there mention Amy Coney Barrett. I think some of this is an exercise, especially her going up, and I use the term sniveling to Congress. She's showing that she's being influenced through fear and intimidation. That might be on purpose to let people know that these radical groups are causing injury. And look here, this was on a foreign site on Telegram. Nobody's reporting this. But I am. U.S. tariff revenues turned negative last month for the first time in history. And look at the laughy faces, thumbs up, grins, a clown face. One person's got a mad face. What is your impressions of this? Think about it. I think this was, Bloomberg. Reversal of fortune. Is that what they want people to think in their mind? Oh, because of Trump, our fortunes have reversed. First time in history, we lose in a tariff battle. See, Trump screws up everything he touches. If they want to build. Remember, Bloomberg ain't your friend. None of them are in the media. What are you thinking here when you look at it? I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Let me see what everybody says in the chats. First time in history. You know what? They didn't show the whole graph. They should show the whole graph. It's not just propaganda, it's a fact. We had a negative tariff balance for the first time in history, in our country's history. And I'm going to tell you why. Because Trump was forced to refund almost $170 billion, probably more than that, at one time. That's why I'm saying this graph is incomplete. It should show that downward spike going all the way down to 170 billion. And you look at tariff income when Trump got into office, it shot up to $30 billion a month. A month. And I am confident that if that lawsuit had not gone forward, if this was not permitted to be heard in front of the Supreme Court, that Americans would have got a check for the 250th anniversary of this country. I don't know how much, 2,000, 2,500, maybe 3,000. I don't know. And there would have been another check coming Christmas time. Bet me. Why didn't we do it? Because the Supreme Court was terrified of these radicals. They didn't follow the Constitution. They didn't follow the law. And it caught, what did I say? People don't care unless their ox is getting gored. This needs to be shown. Everybody's ox got gored, and it's getting gored right now. Although Trump has restored them, the tariffs, to a great degree. What did Trump put in his post the other night? How much is it costing us? Trillions. So kiss about $4,000 to $5,000 goodbye, because Amy Coney Barrett was influenced by lunatics and dangerous individuals. And John Roberts, in my opinion, is obviously influenced by foreign powers. And we can't continue to go on as a republic under those conditions. So, let's see what Donald Trump had to say at Camp David. Now, I was asking, am I right in saying this is his second time at Camp David since he's been in office? Why would they use Camp David? And you can bet that Camp David has been gone over with a fine-tooth comb. This is some highly sensitive stuff going on when they go to Camp David. That's my opinion. And there's going to be highly classified directives given, highly classified decisions made. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's got my antennas up because Trump went to Camp David. Oh, here's something I wanted to put up last night. Heckler derails Chuck Schumer's anti-corruption speech. Chuck Schumer giving a... He's heckled and branded a genocidal maniac during an anti-corruption speech. They say it's an old boomer, or what do they call him? He's an anti-Israeli... I forgot. I don't know, old hippie or something. I don't know. Let's see what happens to old schmuck Schumer.
Trump has turned it into the single most profitable scam of his. Please sit down. Please sit down.
Genocide. What could be more corrupt than backing genocide? This is part of the same con with you and Trump playing off of each other. Oh, he's worse. Oh, he's worse. You were put on notice in November of 2023 by the Center for Constitutional Rights and other legal and human rights organizations. Notice on potential legal liability for aiding, abetting, inciting, or conspiring to commit genocide for congressional acts and demand. You were put on notice, and you backed it, and you backed the genocide to the hilt for years on end. How dare you talk about corruption? How dare you talk about corruption?
Thank you for your diatribe. Now, let's continue. Let's continue and let the people didn't come to hear you.
It's amazing that you can show your genocidal face in public, Mr. Senator. Mr. Senator. Shame on public citizen for not allowing questions to this genocidal face. More corrupt and not allowing questions.
Sorry about that. Let's continue with the subject at hand.
Ha ha! He had a little woman come in there, grab him by the arm, take him out of there. Why was he allowed to do that for so long? I think that was a stunt. But anyway. How you doing, Outlandish? Nice to see you. He looked like Bernie Sanders' illegitimate nephew, twice removed by marriage, I think. At least from the back. I don't know who he was. I don't know. Let's see here. What was Donald Trump talking about? Let's see. We'll start. I got these clips. We'll just go through them as they come up and see what he's talking about. And then we'll comment on them.
In Minnesota, there was a cyber attack, and they blame it on Iran. I don't think so. I blame it on Minnesota because they're grossly incompetent. There was a cyber attack of 30 water plants, and I would blame it on Minnesota and the governor, the corrupt governor of Minnesota. They like to say, oh, it was Iran. Iran should be so lucky. Iran's got bigger problems than worrying about Minnesota.
Yeah, there's a cyber attack in Minnesota on power plants. And Trump said it was incompetence by the governor, okay? Not Iran. But they're trying to blame it on Iran. Let's see, this is where he talks about Todd Blanche. No, it's too short a clip for that. Let me see. Maybe this is where he talks about the news being a bunch of stiffs. Like I said, they got nothing to complain about.
Yeah, there's a couple of stiffs, but that's okay. No, it's an amazing group, and America is safer and stronger and far more successful than it was 2 years ago, and I think, frankly, that it ever was. I don't think it's ever been anything like this. We're building.
My mic wouldn't cut on right here. There we go. It's on now. Yeah, I called them a couple of stiffs. What can they start a narrative about? Trump's nipping the power plant thing in the bud, and everything else is blown up in their face. What can they, Midas Trash Network keep putting up pictures. Every time Trump closes his eyes and looks down, they take a still shot and say he fell asleep at Camp David. I mean, that's the level of garbage they're at. Doing split-second still shots. But anyway, let's see what's going on here.
I saw Spain yesterday, and I watched the catastrophe that took place. It looks like an invasion of a country by hundreds of thousands of people. And that same thing's going to happen to us if the Republicans don't get elected, except worse. Much bigger, much easier to get into, despite the fact that we have built thousands of miles of wall, which I said we were going to do, but we didn't have that, forget it. But we have the safest border in the world. If we're not in office, our country will be invaded at levels that made Spain look small time. And when I watched it, I said, boy, I'm going to say it because I knew you were going to be at Camp David. And I say, that's going to be a talking point for the midterms. Because when you look at what happened to Spain, they don't know what to do. And it's happening again today. They're coming in by the tens of thousands. They're just invading the country. And what that is weak law, bad management, but very liberal law. They passed a couple of laws, and people read. People are smart. They read from other countries, and they swam that 3-mile swim, or however they got in, but nobody's seen anything like it. That will look good compared to what's going to happen to the United States. The biggest thing, the worst thing that Biden did is allowing 25 million people into our country.
Yeah. That being part of the European Union, you get in there and you're free to go anywhere. And you get protected refugee status. Somebody gave an order for that. Who gave the order? And they're shipping them all over to the UK. Just like I showed the video where they were taking them from the beaches in France. During D-Day, we were going from England to storm the beaches of France. Now they're taking invaders and just helicoptering them over the channel and dumping them off in England. I'm sure that's why we had hundreds of thousands of American soldiers lose their lives. So they could pull this kind of crap. But anyway, let's see what's going
on. We've seen these strikes between Iran and the United States over the past 10 days. How do you think reviving the ceasefire and getting diplomacy back on track?
Well, I think we just want to win. We just want to win. We're doing very well. We're trying to be nice as you can be in a situation like that. But, they're being decimated. They have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft. Doesn't mean they don't have any capability. They have some, but very little. We just want to win. We don't want to have them. It's very simple. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, and they can't have a nuclear weapon. If they did, the Middle East would have been wiped out by now. If I didn't stop the JCPOA, the Obama deal, if I didn't do that, they would have had a nuclear weapon. I believe Israel would no longer be with us in big parts of the Middle East and perhaps other. These people are crazy. So they cannot have a nuclear weapon, and they won't.
Well, you're talking about Iran. Is there going to be negotiations, or we're going to keep bombing? And the word is that they're coming up with a holy cow, my screen won't move. They're coming up with a 2-week long bombing campaign. It's just going to be say uncle, okay? And there's talk that they're introducing pistoles, okay, instead of rifles, AK-47s or anything like that. The main thing they're smuggling in right now to the general populace, and it's out there, so I don't mind saying it. And I've been hearing this for a couple of weeks and didn't say anything because, you put the spotlight on it and people lose their lives. But now it's pretty much being talked about quite a bit that what they really need is something they can stick in their pocket, and the time is right. Use it. They don't need to be running around with long rifles. And it's a lot easier to get them in. It's a lot easier to hide them. It's a lot easier to keep them in your home. And there will come a point when there's enough of them floating around that people can do something. Let me see. What is this? Oh, Rand Paul. People are going to want to see something happen to Fauci. If for nothing else, a lot of people, they just want to see something bad happen to people. Especially if they've been an a-hole in the past. Paul, Dr. Fauci, would you like to at least answer this one question for us today? Fauci, on the advice of my counsel, I respectfully decline. Paul, the chairman has denied your assertion of privilege and directed you to answer, but you nonetheless refuse and stand on privilege despite the existence of the pardon. It is against the law to obstruct an investigation of Congress. There will be repercussions to your refusal to testify today. Okay, obstructing Congress, an investigation by Congress, but also obstructing justice. Branch. Okay, obstruction of justice, because he has to testify. And Trump mentions in one of these clips, I don't think he's going to nullify the pardon, because he mentions that it is the most powerful tool. It's one of the most powerful tools the president has. And the way he was talking, it doesn't sound to me like he wants to disturb that in any way. So anyway, let's see what...
And it's a long time ago, but never into this room. I want to thank all of you for being here. And again, this is a cabinet meeting. It's open. It's out very well. Everybody can ask questions. We'll let you talk about certain things we can't answer because they're ongoing and very important. But this is one of the most talented teams ever to serve the United States and group of people. Let's see. I go one after another. Yeah.
Well, that was a glitchy video. That was just introducing everybody to the cabinet meeting. Hi, Brush. How you doing, man? You got to get your shin up, man. Of course, we're gonna get out of it. There's a lot of stuff that's happened that we don't even know about. We're a lot farther along in this than you might know. But I mean, I think this is what's happening in Europe is going to be. I won't say the end of NATO, but NATO will definitely be reconstituted. They've got us in some kind of barrel where every time they have a problem, we got to come running. And every time we have a problem, they can sit on their hands, and that's going to change. Plus, they've been bleeding us white with their social programs and scamming our taxpayers through USAID and these other NGOs and other sneaks. So a lot of this is going to change. And we're dealing with a system that's been in place for 80 years with NATO. So we didn't get there overnight, and we're not going to get out of it overnight. But anyway, we're going to get out of it. What's happening with Spain? Tens of thousands of illegal immigrants invading it. Happened in the United States during the sleepy Joe Biden administration, and it will happen again, only worse if the Democrats ever gain power. Don't let our country be destroyed. Vote Republican and be proud of the USA. President Donald J. Trump. Well, we've had decades of a school system that have been teaching our kids that our very existence is illegitimate and in some way, shape, or form criminal. And that has to be reversed. We need to rebuke everybody who comes up with that crap, whether they're your friend, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, whatever. If they talk that crap, they need to be rebuked. I don't want to hear it. You're fortunate to be in this country. Thank your lucky stars, and you're wrong. Okay, let's see what Trump's got to say.
I'll tell you something. Todd Blanche is a very, very good man, and he shouldn't be in the middle of this. He should get approved, because you will never get anybody like him. You're never going to get anybody. And to make him a pawn in this whole thing, this is being done by a senator, and I don't really blame him, to be honest with you. I endorsed his opponent, and as soon as I endorsed his opponent went through the roof, and he won the primary election in Texas for Senate. And the man that lost, the man that I didn't endorse, has become very angry, and that's okay. I mean, I understand that. I probably would do the same thing. You want to know the truth? I think I do this.
You see that slick move by Trump? He thinks he's hurting Trump. And Trump did a couple of things there. If I was him, I'd have done the same thing. So he's putting Cornyn in his spot. Hey, you're acting like Trump. And the second thing he's doing is, it doesn't bother me because I'll just keep him as a temporary till you're gone, and then I'll put him in there anyway. And you're acting just the way I would anyway. So, in a way, it's an olive branch. It's an olive branch. No hard feelings, okay? You lost. You're trying to screw things up. You're acting like me. I understand. And that may make him say, okay, I'll go for it. I'll go for Todd Blanche. It's subtle. Anyway, let's see what this one is. This has got one of the most talented teams. Trump convenes at the cabinet at Camp David. I think this was posted by Trump.
America is safer and stronger and far more successful than it was 2 years ago, and I think, frankly, that it ever was. I don't think it's ever been anything like this. We're building more factories and plants in this country than we've ever built before. And we're going to be, at some point, we'll be leaving this position, and we're going to leave this country in very, very... When we took office, we inherited a total catastrophe. The last administration created the worst inflation in 48 years, the most dangerous and insecure border in history, and exploding trade deficits like we have never seen before, rampant crime, men and women's sports, transgender mutilization of your children, and chaos and bedlam all over the world. Other than that, once we've turned around 4 years of disaster, we now have the strongest border in American history. We went from the worst border, I believe, of any country in history. 25 million people came through in 4 years. And these are people that, in many cases, you don't want. They were murderers, they were drug dealers, they were people that you do not want. But now we have the strongest border in American history, and for the last 15 months, the report just came out again, we've had no people coming in through our southern border, zero.
So that was his preamble, and it's kind of neutering the press, all the things that he's saying. They're scrambling. What can we criticize him about? What can we criticize? Well, here's dopey CNN. Look at this. And I thought to myself, I saw his picture. Eggs? You got to be kidding me. You're going back to eggs, CNN? Oh, but what's the story about eggs? The big news, CNN. All this stuff going on, and they want to talk about eggs have gotten much cheaper since President Donald Trump returned to office in January 2025. But, quote, everything else, unquote, too. As Trump claimed on Monday, absolutely not. Far more prices have gone up since inauguration and have gone down. They call this crap news with everything that's going on. The Fauci situation is bombshell news. How much time do you think they spent on it? But they're at the bottom of the barrel. And speaking of barrels, when this is settled, this business in Iran, oil is going to collapse in price. They've got themselves positioned as a pariah state. They got in trouble for an Egyptian ship being struck by drones, and they had to make a move. they're blaming Israeli pilots, and nobody's buying that. And he said, Egypt's so important to them. Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Aragachi, and don't forget Egypt's part of the Abraham Accords, okay? Part of the Board of Peace that said Hamas must disarm. He's spoken out after a drone attack targeting vessels at Egypt's Damatia port, calling Egypt's security of utmost importance to Tehran. He warned of alleged false flag operations. I got to say that on Utizzle. That was another banned term, but they put it in this report. Nobody's taking it down. As fear grows over the conflict expanding in the new regional front. Well, he doesn't have control over the lunatics in the Republican Guard. Meat is expensive because there are 4 companies, as you know, and they're all controlled by China. They're all controlled by China. And I'll tell you what, I went to the grocery store yesterday, and I saw they had about 24 packs of beef on the shelves in the refrigerated section. And about 70% of them, I'm saying roughly, I don't know, maybe 18 packs had the sticker on there where they put it on where they have to sell it faster because it's getting old. Manager special. But even then it was $5.60 a pound or something like that. Something stupid. But it goes to show you, most of the beef that was in a major supermarket, okay, most of it was discounted because it wasn't selling. So that's the answer, is that people are just going to eat something else. Climate change, yeah. But anyway, I put in the chats, I think 5 minutes or 4 minutes ago, a link in the description. I mean, I've been saying that so many times. In the chats, I put a link. Buy me a coffee. Kaboom! And, last night, I appreciate Norm coming by. He came by this morning. Yeah, no, kapow! And he's the one who went and did the Rumble link and proved that worked. And he stopped by and buy me a coffee. Kaboom! He's helping end this week and this month with a bang along with Mike and Bev. Stop by again. Kapow! Helping close out the month. And Miss Minder Sue. Kaboom! Stopped by yesterday. And she did a Moab and a half this month, didn't you, Miss Minder Sue? I got my big boom winding up. And I want to thank Wayne and Robin and Angela and Mike, my big boom. There it is. Boom, kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. It's got to warm up for some reason. And Younger Gang, kaboom. And also Gary, when he stops by, he does a Moab too. Kaboom. So I appreciate everybody helping finish off this month by going buy me a coffee. I got the link in the chat for anybody wants to help the channel out. Totally viewer supported. Come on, my studio won't move. Totally viewer supported channel. Anyway, here, I had this the other day too, and I can look at the level they're at. I saw this picture. First time I saw it was a Midas Trash Network. Along with the freeze frame picture of Trump supposedly napping when he just had his eyes closed for a minute. The one on the right is Getty Images. That's an actual Getty image picture they're putting up saying Donald Trump looks like that. The one on the left, the White House put out. Even the shape of his mouth has been changed. This guy, Stan Price, his opinion is White House photo versus Getty Images photo. The truth is somewhere in the middle. I don't even believe that. I believe they enhanced Trump's White House picture, smoothed it out a little bit or whatever. They didn't change his facial expression. They didn't add all those creases and wrinkles, but Getty Images sure in the hell did. That they should pay a price for that. They're putting out desultory pictures, is the way I'll term it. But this is the level they're at now. Here you go, Babylon B. Spaniards horrified to see their country turning into Minnesota. Ha 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 ha. No, I'm not done yet. I still got another clip from Donald Trump, a good one. Here. Donald J. Trump. And I didn't get to see too much back and forth through the press, but like I said, they had nothing to snipe at him about. They had nothing to snipe at Dr. Oz, nothing to snipe at Pete Hegseth about. They had no preset narrative to try to tear down Trump. This is the first press conference or presser that I've seen where the cat's got their tongue. Don't you guys agree? They don't have even, what are they going to talk about? There's pictures of you falling asleep. What are they going to come up with? They can't come up with nothing.
Look, we have the greatest weapons in the world. We have the greatest drones in the world. People don't know that. We have the greatest weaponry in the world. We have, in the case of President Zelensky, he'd like to have some Patriots. He'd like to have some Tomahawks, which are, lethal, one offensive, one defensive. But give somebody the other day you read that 5 missiles were shot. They were going 8,600 miles an hour. Think of it, 8,600. Now a car, if you go 60, it gets to be a little faster. If you go 100, 8,600 miles an hour. And they were big missiles. And they were shot at Jordan. And our guys were there. Bing, 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 bing. 5. Bing, 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 bing. Right? I don't want to be minded. I had to be very careful. That would have been a great soundbite. There were 5 missiles, and we shot all 5 down before they got close. Nobody else has that capacity. These weapons are incredible. We have to be very careful about letting somebody build them. It's very important now. We are building many plants now to make those, and the Tomahawk missile is the most incredible thing. You can go into a doorway, you can put it through a window. You have to be very judicious, but you have to be very careful. Now, we have not agreed to that. We're talking about it, but it's a hard thing to give away that kind of technology. And I don't think this would ever happen, but those people that you give that technology, they can someday turn on you. That is possible. You look at war, it's happened a couple of times over the years, right? So we have to be very careful. I mean, we guard that. We have the greatest military in the world, but we have the greatest weapons in the world. Now we have to make them a little bit faster because we've given a lot away. President Biden, unfortunately, gave a lot away to Ukraine. And he gave, so did I. I mean, I gave them the javelins, the tank busters. Without the javelins, that war would have been a one-day war. It would have been over. They wiped out the tanks going up to Kiev when they got stuck in the mud. They had a general that decided to go through the mud instead of going up the highway where they were going very nicely. It would have been over. But no, I gave them the javelins. The javelins are unbelievably. We have the greatest weapons in the world. We have to be very careful about giving out the secrets to those weapons. And they're not, you can't copy them. It's a little like NVIDIA. They have a chip. They say you cannot copy it. The complexity is so great you cannot. You know, most things you copy. China's known for it, other countries, we do something, and I guess we copy also. You can copy pretty easily. There's a chip that they made, their ultimate chip, and they always have the ultimate chip. And I say, well, why doesn't somebody copy it? Because they can't, the complexity. They can't copy our weapons. We have the greatest weapons in the world, many of them. Those are just 2 or 3 that I mentioned, but you cannot copy them, so we have to be very.
Yeah, Zelensky was wanting Patriot missiles, and he was also wanting the capability to produce them, saying that he would also produce them for us. And Trump is like, well, we can't give out that kind of technology. And of course, he's right, as per usual. And there was some talk going around that Elon Musk. Let's see, is this story? The Financial Times. Oh, I'll get to Elon Musk and Zelensky in a minute, but this is Russia targets hundreds of Ukrainian petrol stations, gas stations. Russian forces have attacked more than 200 gas stations across Ukraine. This has been going on for weeks. I could have showed you all videos of a gas station got boom, blowing up all across Ukraine, including 80 in Kharkiv Oblast and more than 30 in Zaporizhzhia Oblast, according to the Financial Times. Citing Ukrainian officials, the newspaper to leave areas where Russian forces are attempting to advance to increase social pressure. The attacks may also be a response to Kiev strikes on Russian oil and gas facilities. Well, they are moving forward, okay? And it's being painted out that Russia's losing. Well, Zelensky's running out of weapons. He's asking for Patriot missiles. He's talking about they're going to be mobilizing 500 to 1,000 troops. Something's going to happen in the next 48 hours. On and on he goes. Zelensky asked Trump for a new favor or a favor from Elon Musk. Following a meeting between Zelensky and Trump, the Ukrainian side stated that Zelensky had requested 300 missiles for air defense from Trump to defend against attacks. Increasingly, sources in the United States are reporting that Trump refused the request due to a shortage. It's not due to a shortage. It's due to we don't want to give them the technology. But anyway, he wanted a favor from Elon Musk. Well, shortly after that post, Elon Musk canceled a meeting with Zelensky during his visit to the U.S. That's from The Atlantic. They also report that Zelensky asked Trump to allow the use of Starlink for strikes deep into Russian territory. Trump ain't going to go for that. Trump's not going to go for it. So get it out of your little head. It's like I've been saying. There has been a layout, okay, that is fast approaching fruition. That's predetermined. NATO is considering deploying additional U.S. nuclear weapons in Europe due to the threat from Russia. Wait a minute. You want U.S. nuclear weapons? Why don't NATO, you got nuclear weapons. Why don't you use yours? You want to use ours? The discussion primarily concerns non-strategic nuclear weapons. Oh, okay. They're less powerful than strategic ones and are intended for strikes against enemy troops, airfields, ports, and command centers delivered by aircraft or short-range missiles. Can we have them? They're not that bad. They're not as bad as the other ones. You think Trump's going to go for this? Currently, according to expert estimates, There are only about 100 U.S. B-61-12 bombs in Europe at 6 air bases in Germany, Belgium, Italy, the Netherlands, and Turkey, including the German base Buchel, from where, if necessary, they can be used by Luftwaffe aircraft. NATO Secretary Mark Rutte did not rule out an increase in the number of those U.S. B-61s. Trump ain't going to go for that either. But they're asking for it. They can't authorize it. They got to get Trump's authorization for that kind of stuff. Good luck to you. Finland has expressed support for immediate Schengen restrictions on Spain. Schengen is where anybody that is allowed in a country in the European Union is also allowed in every other country in the European Union. So these people that are showing up, estimates are way over 100,000. I don't even know what's going on right now. Nobody's leaving. The reports are wrong. No identification, no passport. They can make up a name. Criminals looking to start a new life or whatever. Once they're in Spain or Spanish territory, they can go anywhere in the EU. And they'll even do direct deposit for their benefits they're gonna be entitled to as refugees, paying the invaders. While Sweden's prime minister said they are an option if Spain doesn't bring the situation under control. Well, Spain can't bring it under control. And you know what? We've already been over there and saved your all's bacon twice. Hundreds of thousands of American lives. Go talk to NATO, okay? You handle it on your own. Over the past few hours, crowds of migrants who arrived in Ceuta, Spain, have begun returning to Morocco. This is wrong. This is wrong. The latest official figures show that approximately 35 newly arrived migrants remain in Ceuta. Well, this was yesterday. This post was yesterday evening while I was doing my live. So they're wrong. According to official data, approximately 60,000 migrants have illegally crossed the border and ended up in the Spanish enclave of Ceuta as a result of the recent sharp increase in their influx. Spanish authorities announced that more than 25,000 have returned from the Spanish enclave of Ceuta to Morocco. Well, you heard Trump. The second day, which is wrapping up right now, there's another at least 50,000 on top of what came in yesterday. So they're going to have to, the EU is going to have to do something with their own militaries. Ukrainian monitoring channels report that 25 missiles. Oh, this is a, where's that report? Wait a second. About what happened in Kiev. Let me see. Oh no, I didn't get that. I might have knocked the wrong. There was airstrikes on Kiev ongoing. Where did that go? Here's one. There you go. Different bombing sites. Footage from Kiev shows large fires following Russian missile strikes. I don't know how many nights in a row it's been. It's been a lot. Plus, they're blowing up every outlying gas station they can come across. And the troops are ready to move in. Okay? The Donbass is gone. Okay? Ukrainian monitoring channels report that 25 missiles were used, including 6 3M-22 Zircon hypersonic cruise missiles. Remember those videos I showed where you just seen a flash, just like a blink of an eye, of the missile. The remaining missiles were 9M723 Eiklander M tactical ballistic missiles. So who knows if it's going to continue tonight. But I want to show you a weird picture. Is this AI? What is this? Look at that. You see a guy over there on the left with a flashlight looking in the hole? Did we find the home base of the lizard people? I don't think it's AI. But it might be enhanced. One of the Russian missiles impacted an open area in Kiev. It hit an area, well, maybe it's just workers down there with lights. I don't know. It's where a ballistic missile hit a parking lot or buildings in Kiev, Ukrainian capital. And that's the picture they. I tell you, this is weird. This gives you vibes of the Terminator movies. What is that? Rise of the Machines. A very rare sighting of a Sukhoi S-70 Okhotnik B, heavy stealth unmanned combat aerial vehicle somewhere over Russia. So this is a large aircraft, and they've just got them patrolling the skies. Where is that shot? Let me see. Is it? And it made me think of, if you heard Trump on one of those videos where he's saying we're ahead of everybody in drones. Not a lot of people know that. We got thousands of them. So you can bet we got ones just like this. Can you imagine a sky full of these things with the ability to use thermovision to track people, find locations on Wi-Fi devices, and just thousands of them in the sky, unmanned, robotic. I forgot. I always get in trouble whenever I play Ruski music. Where's that speaker at? There it is. Yeah, imagine the sky full of like 1,000 of those things. Or more. Multiple thousands. So anyway. I was reading in the chat, so I'm sorry about you all. Losing family members is tough. But like we always say, precious time. Precious time. And we got to think, while we're here, what can we do to keep our country safe and have our progeny go forward with a viable nation? Okay. This is the streets after the migrants were cleared off them. These were clean streets. These were clean streets before these animals came in. This should be being shown on every American news station. This footage and all the footage we watched last night should be on the nightly news for people to see. So they can start getting it in their damn heads that you're not safe. You're not safe. And let me tell you, the Marxists that were running the Obama Biden White House would have allowed more people to come and would have allowed what we saw going on in Spain. And what do you think they would have done with Zelensky's request for Patriot missile technology? And what do you think they would do with Germany's request or the EU's request for atomic bombs that could reach Russia? They would steer us right into World War III, nuclear. Remember that. Now, this video, I don't know what it is. I didn't get a chance to watch it. But Citizens Free Press put it up and put a bunch of laughy faces above it. So I'm going to play it. And let's hope we all get a laugh out of it. Sometimes what some people think is funny, I don't very much think it's funny. But you never know. And what I always say, I say thank you for spending your precious time with me. And I put a link one more time in the chats for Buy Me a Coffee for anybody that wants to help out the channel. I do appreciate it. And let's see what's so funny. What's in the background? A map with Arabic. Enjoy this video. If you're subscribed, you'll know when I go live, right? So why don't you go ahead and do that? But anyway, you all have a great night. This is Mountain Man, over and out.
Get ready with me to lead a group of Islamic invaders on a trip to Spain. This is a relatively small group of 60,000 militant-aged men, so I think everything should go pretty smoothly.
Okay, guys, we are going to meet back here at the bus at 3:30, not 3:35. Abdul, I'm looking at you.
We started off the day by storming the border and then did some sightseeing and light pillaging and looting. Spain really is such a beautiful country. Or at least it was until today.
Does anybody here need to use the restroom? Ahmed, yeah, you can just go number 2 on the side of the church over there. That's fine.
I've always loved the idea of an open concept kitchen, and I think the same should apply to countries. You know what they say, there's no I in Intifada. For a night activity, someone suggested pelting rocks at police cars, and that was the perfect way to get some energy out.
Okay, so obviously nobody listened to me about meeting by the bus at 3:30, so I guess we just have to stay here indefinitely. So go find a place to occupy by force, and this is your new home, I guess.
Anyways, we had a great time taking over Europe. It honestly felt like a Mary-Kate and Ashley movie, except with violent jihadists. The West is next. Death to America!